and your legislature declared, is it 20 or 21 languages official? 20. And 1 year ago, 2 years ago? Anyway, ours was declared 1978. And of course, it's something to be very happy about. At the same time, there's no teeth to it. It was, in our situation, sort of put into the category of, you know, the official state flower, or what's your official state flower? All right, like a forget-me-not. Well, ours is some kind of native hibiscus. But beyond that, we have to give it teeth. Yeah, you can have this, and it's great because it's a recognition, is the first thing. People in our state are saying, sure, that's the language of this place. You know, just that is big. So that's great. So now, since 1978, we've been working on revitalizing our language. So Hawaiian being official becomes a little bit more weighty, and in a good way. And maybe we can talk about that later, because my topic is not so much how are our community, how's our Hawaii people reacting to this rejuvenation of our Hawaiian language in Hawaii. There's sort of a different topic. So getting back to repositories, this is a form of a repository, and this is all documentation, documentation. And as you can see, we have by location. You can be in Hawaii because our property was not, in the Western sense, owned by fee simple or real estate and stuff like that. Our property, land, ocean, even up into the air, domains were governed by your connection to the highest born. The highest born are those people that we call kings and queens, the blue bloods, because they have a closer connection to the gods. I don't know if Queen Elizabeth and that gang of people are connected to their blue blood because of some connection to the heavenly ones, the highest ones. Now, like the Emperor of Japan, he's connected, or their family is connected to the gods of ancient times, and they survived till today, the family. Well, we still have family in Hawaii who can trace their genealogy back to the gods. And that set up the whole monarchy and ownership. So now that the Western concept finally invaded that mindset, that no, we own property, not the realm of the gods, as it comes down to the reigning descendants, so people who are connected to the gods, would be our ali'i, or our kings and queens, our chiefs and chiefesses, who run. When do you go fishing? Where do you plant? How do we gather our foods? All of that kind of use of earth. But then when it became fee simple, we were very much connected to real estate, location, square feet, acreage, etc. So we have all of those records from the land department in Hawaiian, because our government was run in Hawaiian. So that's wonderful for Hawaiian language to have a repository. Anybody wants to get tied up, and we do, with real estate, we can go back to Hawaiian records. And it's written all up, deed of sale, even, wills, because that entails property, acreage, land. Anyway, so that's the kind of, then we have genealogy, because that in Hawaiian culture is important. As I said, the connection back to our heavenly ones. When I say heavenly ones, I mean literally, because in in our tradition, we start with darkness. That's our beginning. Every Native people group in the world have their own, what English says is mythology. I don't like that word, but I don't even like story. It's a record of where we came from. Anyway, and then we have the mahele, is this so-called, the Hawaiian word for mahele literally means to divide up. And that's what happened when the Western thought of real estate came into play in 1848. So we have lots of records. And the real good one that we have down here is called newspapers. Because once our language became a written language, officially 1826, the Roman alphabet was adopted for writing. And once our people saw how wonderful, magical, sort of, writing was, you immediately took it up and they got into the newspaper business. So we have over 100 Hawaiian language newspapers, separate individual newspapers. People just wanted to become, what do you call that? You know, in journalism, getting stories, all kinds of things. And Hawaiian newspapers, of course, are very different from English newspapers, the way things that were written. So if I go to, I'm going to get this mouse to operate here. I don't know how to do these things. There we go. That's it. Which one do you go, right or left?
Left, I click it twice. Left, one, I click it twice.
Thank you, I'm clicking, but I don't. Oh, okay. Now you can search. This is the a newspaper. Now you can search topics. So anybody have a topic in mind? I can put it in Hawaiian. Well, say because these are Hawaiian language newspapers. So if I wanted to search, my name is Japanese. I don't know. We can find out if I have some report in the paper about my family or something. Kimura. And then let's see. How do I get? Oh yeah, searching now. Wow. There's 158 Kimuras. They even have a Larry L. Kimura, that's me, because that's not a Hawaiian language newspaper. But down below, at number 3 is me. I don't know about 1 and 2. I don't recognize. Kimura is a common name. And I heard there's a Kimura here somewhere in Fairbanks. Was there? Sorry. Okay. Anyway. And you can tell by the dates that they'll be probably in English. And then you can see the rest of these guys. Pardon me with, how do I scroll this with this? Anyway, these are going to be in Hawaiian. Of course, we want to have Hawaiian Nupepa Pu'oko of 1926. The last Hawaiian language newspaper was printed in 1948. So if we went to say, and this is a marriage, so I won't go to that one, but this one is about, it's a Christian, it's a marriage again. What? They have an X, but this is English. I don't want English, I want to go to Hawaiian. This is in Hawaiian? 1980 is too recent, 1908. Oh, there was a gambling Japanese who died in the afternoon of Sunday, and then it continues. So I'm reading the Hawaiian translation. So if you want to see and all those spots there have the name Kimura. So spelling of it. And you can read in Hawaiian from 1908. So I'm kind of bragging about what we have in Hawaii because we're so fortunate to have this repository of language published in Hawaiian language newspapers. And this is a prime resource for language instruction. So it's only places more important because we use this a lot because this is like Hawaiian journalism. How Hawaiian can be used in writing news. And this particular topic is about this gambling Japanese, as I read just the headline part of it, and then the article itself. In other words, you can have your language being used in so many different ways. And this is being brought up into, I would say, more like 1908 current history. So we have to move our languages, and our people did for the time. And we had a gap from about just the early 1900s. We think that the probability of having the last native speaker born would have been 1920. To have been born in a very rural setting, not in a very, city-fied place, where Western influence and English language would have dominated. So this is the wealth that Hawaiian language has. Over 100 years of Hawaiian language newspapers, since the earliest was, I think, in 1830 something, 33, 34. Most of those early newspapers were published by missionaries, and then Hawaiian people who became into the newspaper industry about the 1840s up until 1948. Do you folks have any repositories written, documented, that you can access in an archive or anything? Missionary, there you go. What do you have?
Yes, we do. UAF has a major archive which is full of Alaskana.
What is that?
Part of it's called the Alaska and Polar Regions Collections and Archives. It's a large part of Rasmussen Library. And part of that is the Alaska Native Language Archive, which used to be the library for the Alaska Native Language Center and has now been enlarged and largely digitized. So you can go to the website, you can search on that website with any language.
What is the name of the website?
I can write it out for you.
Yeah.
Or bring it up if you like. It's
And,
www.uaf.
This doesn't have to, I can tell it doesn't have www.uaf.
No, A.
Oh, sorry.
UAF.
Yeah, UAF.
.edu.
I'm doing all caps, but this is
It's fine, it
lowercase.
doesn't matter,
All right.
it doesn't matter, not sensitive. And then forward slash.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
This way.
Yeah. ANLA. No, AN as in nose. As in native. There you go, that's it. So you can take a look at that and you'll find a search page that will take you to this collection of materials that we don't have anything like that. We don't have native language newspapers.
So what do you have here again?
What we have is the collection of documentation and school materials and all these things that have been.
So like you have school registration or
No, you would find those in the main archive. What we have at ANLA is all in the languages or
yeah,
about the languages.
What kind of examples of school materials?
So we have school materials might be storybooks, lesson books, things that you could use for making lesson plans, teacher's guides, old textbooks.
Like lesson books.
Yeah,
or old
yeah.
texts.
Mhm.
On math, maybe?
We have lots of maps.
Mathematics.
Not much of that, no.
Oh, you have maps.
We do have maps. We have traditional stories.
Traditional stories that were used for teaching in the school?
No. So that what we have is, you might find a recording of a traditional story that you could listen to. You might find one that you could listen to and read, but it wouldn't be prepared for classroom use. You would have to do that yourself.
Audio recording?
We have lots of audio recording.
Wait, this is all exploring. You
Yeah.
can explore this whole website. So, and the languages are all.
All Alaskan languages. Yeah, and also some Russian, a little bit of Alaska Russian and some Alaskan Sami.
So in Hawaii, I can access this.
You can, anywhere.
And so we have, and I'm sure some of you already know about this one, like here, Breakout is another, but am I at Breakout? Yeah, and you can search, I'll just type something, I don't know, this is the place name, this applies to stories, and this is where the volcano is going down the Kalapana area. And there's all kinds of material. We have category of special features, all different things. Anyway, you can explore this website as well. This is just an example. I'm sure you have, I'm sure you have, yeah, and so is this on? Can you hear me? Oh, I can. Anyway, just another thing. This is something that we work with. This is being constructed from the College of Hawaiian Language, where I'm working. Then there's we have that, yeah, a couple people. Okay, and then I just wanted to get into something real fast. I have what is this? We did, what do you call this? Making conversation starts off. Just sort of ideas that can be taken. So, for example, this is a picture of my grandmother, this is my Hawaiian grandmother, who is Scottish Hawaiian. And this happens to be a picture of her nephew, who is my uncle, working at the Punana Leo when he was alive. He passed away in 1999. As I said, this is me just speaking, documentation, speaking to elders, so recording as many of our elders that we could. Now, I don't think, maybe we do. I don't know this, I have to get to the, how do I get to, will this open the PowerPoint to the big slide?
No, view.
Where? I have to go home. I'm looking this way and that way.
Viewer slideshow.
But here, slideshow, this here. Yeah, and then
From beginning.
there we go. Sorry. And doesn't this work? I don't know. I could get this off. And I think, yeah. So we had some project just to record, and you see the topics up there, the kinds of cultural topics that are done video. We have a tower farmer, that's a playing ukulele, saddle maker, salt making, quilting Hawaiian style. Ni hao shell ray, lauhala is a fabric, leaf for weaving, and hula practice. Just some of the topics that was done in this video project. And then it's all by native speakers, and then we have, of course, video that can be used for whatever, the raw footage that you'd like to use. And then, I'm doing this thing. We had a Hawaiian language radio program that I did for 16 years. So when I did this radio program, I recorded, and this is the only video available that somebody took of us in 1987. So that represents, is it going? It's representing about 500, I guess it doesn't work. Video, we didn't put it, sorry. We were having problems transferring from my Sony into this format. Anyway, I can show you this later on another, what is this? Okay, I don't know if this one is here, let's see. And this is just a speaker talking about that title. Oh, we don't have him either, okay, we'll go on. And, nope, not that one either. That's playing the piano by ear. She's just relating her story, stuff like that. Now this is like we have college majors introducing traditional recorded stories. So we take recordings of stories, audio recordings, and then I'd select stories that are manageable, because these are second language learners at our university, at college, Hawaiian language majors. They just practically memorize the stories, but when they're memorizing the stories, of course, they're fluent speakers by now. These are all 4th level Hawaiian language students. And then they go and meet with our 5th graders in the immersion school. So when you get up to 5th grade, maybe even younger, because you can start at kindergarten, or even at preschool. But we try to select stories that are not so lengthy, or not so high language use, so that, 5th graders, 9 years old or so, can manage. And also, of course, our college students. Then they go and meet 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1, and say the stories and have the kids pick it up. Of course, the students, the young 5th graders pick it up very easily. So we're teaching both the college students about traditional narrative style, and also the young 5th graders. Let's see if that, I don't think this works, because the sound didn't transfer. And we did a rush job on some of the transfers of the video. And this is just showing some of the interaction. Now maybe this one might work. I have this on a separate, what do I have to do? This is so confusing. He took it off on another, how do I get off of this PowerPoint?
Escape is the keyboard there.
But then he has, we did this all in a rush, so I'm trying to look for the sound bites and just, did this all separate. Yeah, okay. Let's see that. Yeah, sure. So they're just repeating the story of how it was told to them. Can we hear it? Is that enough? So, now you hear him trying to He's trying to imitate the way the rooster is supposed to sound in Hawaiian. He does a halfway decent job. I don't know how roosters sound in Tlingit or in Inupiaq if we had chickens. And how do I get to the next? It was back then. I have to go back. So anyway, they're just telling the story again. What they had heard. Yeah, and then let's see. There were photos. They had it all arranged now. Maybe let's look at that video. Go back to that again. If you got that video, just like a video that.
Yeah, we could look on the desktop.
Ah, there they go. Yeah, good. They go to the bookkeep. Let's see, yeah, that one. And then sometimes, of course, our stories have a little jingle or chant to it, so that's also incorporated into the storytelling. How do I go back to that? It's okay. Yeah, and this song or chant usually comes, and then the students, the college students, make the motions in the traditional style. And then the story itself comes from a very old story of our volcano is going on right now, and the name of the goddess is Pele, and the story is about one of her favorite sister, the youngest sister, Hi'iaka, Ikapoli o Pele. And it's a long story where she goes and gets Pele's lover, who's on the last main island to the north of our island, where Pele lives on Hawaii Island. And the island of Kauai is where Hi'iaka is living. So she sends her youngest sister to get her boyfriend. And this is one of the segments. It's a long story. And what else do we have? And then I'm just looking. Oh, we did that one. What is that? I don't know what that one is. Yeah, maybe we'll look at that one. And they took his narrative and just added some pictures. He's talking about fishing with a kite and the hooks and things. So as he's talking, they've added this to make it a little bit more interesting. Okay, so at least we can see, we don't have too many visual video or film, but that's important. Lots of people, especially young children, children don't use their ears too much nowadays, unfortunately. They want to see things. So we're going to have to make it, cater to that. We can't be like the old days, just sit there quiet and listen. Times like, well, we could try, but I want to get back to the internet. Yeah, I can close this down.
Is that good?
How do I get over here? Okay, and then just one more.
You're in it right now.
Oh, I want to get out. How do I get to
Oh, I see. You want a new window?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's how much I
You're good.
Yeah. And then this website is just the one that's being developed now, the one I was telling you guys about the radio show. And so we have here the list of the programs from 1972 up to 1988. And as I was saying, there's over 400. There are 400 different programs representing about 500 to 50 hours, and it's just a radio show, you know. Kind of like a talk story interview.
Speaking Hawaiian tape, HB24, reel 319.
And I don't even know who's on this radio show. And we had an introduction and all of that, so I'll just jump away and see. So I'm asking. Anyway, just asking about how he, I think it's a he at that, yeah, it's the father? Oh. Anyway, how he or she learned to do traditional chanting. And then we also had lots of phone calls. This is a live show with our guests.
Uhana no hoi oe ma ke kai. Kulei pika ke pa.
Kulei oe. Kulei.
Ko aloha.
Anyway, so he's not talking.
Kulei na kamana tu oralo. De hui kawana, see? Ano.
And talking about composing in Hawaii. In his younger days, he was an entertainer, a Hawaiian musician. Anyway, so this is another repository that's being used a lot. And so on this particular web site that we're developing, we're trying to encourage because it's usually a 90-minute program, but you can take the radio show and maybe break it down into different, we have it in English and Hawaiian. So here's the English translation of those Hawaiian topics. So you have topics here about all kinds of things, a hymn called and Nui, some Ni Hao style. So if I did that and played that.
Lelino ke aloha na puo ka aina mai Hawaii an ni hau. E me ka kou te ahian te mau ka maaina o ni hau. Oe o lolena necklace, I ahi paukna, me mila
just like here, I'm sure
e o mai e ngā lei puku o ni hau.
Missionaries were very influential on our people until today. That's the kind of stuff. So the Hui Kamano Leo collection is actually a breakdown of a lot of stuff from the Kaleo Hawaii collection to make it a little bit more. So such things as a pronunciation of a word we use in Hawaiian for perhaps. We use that word maybe, perhaps, and there are various ways of saying it. Ma'u, as we see here, is one way, or malia, so very different. Or pronunciation of this word, we have 4 ways actually to say the word correct. You are correct. Pololei, pololoi, pololoi, polole. And then we have greetings, on the phone, pronunciation of another, or the same word, between 2 cousins, or just little stuff like that. To break it down so that to give a little idea to teachers who want to use it in little chunks. Maybe this will help them to stimulate their thinking, creativity on how they can pull things out to use from native speakers, from documented native speech. maybe some of you are using your documentation in more creative ways than what we have seen now, just to give you an idea, and would like to share some of what's going on with your programs. But all of this is very crucial to, and I get to another, this is how I get into a website. This up here. This is a website that you can learn Hawaiian language. This is the Ahabui, the Ahapunana Leo's website for learning Hawaiian. We have all kinds of things that I'm showing you right now is a documentation of several years of what we call Ahanukia, which is a 4-day, what we're having right now, workshop for all our teachers in the preschool. That's from 3-year-olds to 5-year-olds. So for example, this year, so to stick to the topic, well, this is a documentation within itself. But we select a theme, and this theme this year, on that particular year, 2014, Ele Kia E Oniapa, which comes from a traditional story of two stones, supernatural rockets, a male and a female, and then there came this demigod, and he thought he was such a strong person, and he said, "I'm going to flip that female rock down, or knock her down." And so he tried to move the rock. Of course, as he's moving the rock, pushing it and digging all around it to get the soil loose under it, her mate is calling to her to be strong. And he calls to her by her name, "E le kia e, oniapa." And that means le kia, her name. Interestingly, in Hawaiian, oni is to move, and pa'a is to be secure. So you know how it is when you're trying to move a rock. It moves, and the more you move it, the more it goes down into the soil, into the earth, and it gets harder and harder. So we took that meaning for our teachers in using it as a theme from that story about how it's good to be pa'a, secure, but it's also good that you have to move. And the more you move, hopefully, the more pa'a, the more stronger you will be. Very good theme, don't you think? And it comes from a traditional story. Yeah.
With respect to the current activity of your volcano,
Yes.
how do you bring that current happening to explain to the students what they're seeing without having to look at a video and or photograph, but be able to talk about what's happening with respect to the earth? Do you have anything like that?
Wow, that's a big question. They're seeing it live on Instagram. It's very big. We could all watch it. And the next part of your question was more perhaps, what are we telling them culturally about it?
What are you talking about from historical beliefs and thoughts
Yes.
and ideas? Because for us, we speak about the earth speaking to us. What is the earth saying to us?
Right.
And why is it doing what it's doing?
Yeah, well, we know that Pele is the name of the volcano goddess who's doing all this action. And she is at home on our island, and she came to all the islands, but decided she's going to stay where she is now, in Kilauea. And what she's doing now is what she always has done, was to create more space on our land. So it's creation in from a different, more real, because we also have
In a natural way.
creation. Well, it would be nice that we could maybe connect with the scientists, except that our island, in our tradition is the oldest, not the youngest. So that's good for scientists to know too, that maybe they have to dig further down into our island and they might find out it's older than they think it is. But we're not here to say who knows more in the scientific way. We're just saying this is the way our people understood it. Yeah. And we do talk about Pele like in a real way. Like, how would I say? In the Christian belief, they say, in the beginning, there was God, I guess. But in the Hawaiian way, in our Hawaiian understanding, in the beginning, there was Po. Po means darkness. And the gods are related to us. And the closer, and we have people related to Pele herself. And the closer in your genealogy you can get to the gods, the more godly you are. But everybody goes back to Po, darkness. And darkness is very powerful in Hawaiian. So we have a creation chant that's over 2,000 lines long. And the name of the chant is Kumulepo, which is the source of darkness. So it's very powerful. That's a whole topic in itself. The understanding of our, whatever documentation we have left, and the understanding of godliness, this English concept, and the Christian concept, which is not our concept, but still that it became ours through the history. And how much closer we were to our gods because they were there every day in all different aspects, whether they're erupting down the street over here, or whether we were planting something with water flowing and rain and weather, everything. We had separate identifications for those godly, I hate to use that word, but in English, that's the power, this very valuable and powerful resource.
That's the essence of our language.
Yeah, it makes
What
it
you just
closer
described
to
is
our
the
daily
essence.
lives in a real way. But
Beautiful stuff.
that's another documentation that we have that we need to interpret and understand a little bit better as well.
My friend and I, Paul Marks, who was with us this morning, we bring that kind of thing to the students.
Good.
And it's very interesting how excited, how it's almost like a sponge.
Right.
It rivets them.
We need to,
classroom.
in Hawaii, they have discovered that Mauna Kea is probably the best site in the world for astronomy. And we have a Hawaiian astronomy, a cultural, a science and a cultural center called Imilo with astronomy, cutting edge astronomy. And we need to work more on the connection. Very ironic, the connection that we have with current scientific, not ironic, but some magical connection, coincidence that we have a very similar belief, and they keep saying to us, well, that's your mythology. I said, that's not mythology, because you have to prove your theory and we have our theory. And ours is, I think we believe it more than they believe theirs too, but they still want to prove it. How about darkness? Anyway, that's all recorded. And how we understand it and how we make it clearer for this gap, I guess you could say, that's been, in Hawaii between us and where we left off, is all part of basing it on foundational information. as much as we have. I know we've lost so much, we haven't preserved enough, but whatever we have is valuable. And how we use it to continue, not only, of course, the language, of course, carries the culture and our connection to our identity. So we have to be sure that we get as close as possible to the source and sources, as close as possible. And hopefully we can understand it and try and use it in the way we live today. Our children are being brought up today. I can see my little nephew, he's less than 2 years old, he can sit there for at least on his iPad. And you take it away from him, he'll scream. So times have changed, and so we have to also face that challenge in adapting to, and it's great, you know, it's great to have, you just put your finger on this little button and it goes boom. Yeah, it's great. But at the same time, we have to deal with all of that. Any questions, any concerns? It doesn't have to be about Hawaii. It could be.
I've got a couple of questions. So your repository, is that through the college you work for?
The repository that the college is directly involved with is the website called Ulukau.
And then,
Then I showed you one that was done, is being maintained by Office of Hawaiian Affairs. We established that in 1978 with the Constitutional Convention that established the Hawaiian language as an official language. Because in Hawaii there is that history where the illegal overthrow of the Hawaiian government occurred. And at that Constitutional Convention, attention was brought to this Hawaiian Homes Commission. It's not like reservations, reservation or reserve that Native American people have, but similar. You have to have 50% Hawaiian blood in order to apply for a house lot or a farm lot. A farm lot used to be 40 acres, now it's down to 1 acre. A house lot used to be 2 acres, now it's down to about 12,000 square feet because so many people are applying. Anyway, what was the question? And so that is the Office of Hawaiian Affairs came about because they needed to be more focused on the Hawaiian Homes Commission and getting a percentage of funding from the public lands for them to assist. And then the other website is, Kani Aina with the radio program is coming out next month. The Kani Aina with the audio clips.
and so how do you guys do like intellectual property rights and?
Well, with the radio program, it's because it was a public radio program. Our elders came on and said, we want to be here. We need to talk about the stories of our lives and what we know. They open it to the public. In that way, by appearing on the radio program. But we also have repositories at the Bishop Museum, it's the main museum in Hawaii, with Hawaiian artifacts and recordings, where the way they were recorded, there was no permission forms signed or anything. Or there may be a few, because I used to work in the Bishop Museum, that people who said, I'll tell you this, but you can't use it. You know, very strange kind of way of doing it. I'll tell it to you, but you can't publicize it. So then they're going to have to find very restrictive, whatever that restrictive is, define it to be used. I understand maybe in a lot of communities there still exists restrictions on how you want to use it. Now I would think that at least for your own meaning community, or language, however it's going to be categorized, there must be some way of working out use of it. If not, you may as well dump it in a incinerator if it can't be used. And you think, oh, how valuable, but if it can't be used, why even document it? There must be some way that it can be used. You have to go find a way. Bishop Museum allows us to be, you have to physically go there. You can sit there at the chair and you can hear it or see it, but you cannot copy it. But you can take it in. And then if you go and write a book or whatever, they want, and if you're going to use something, they're going to have, it's up to your honesty to say, no, not I didn't get this in a dream, or it just didn't come to me through my grandmother or grandfather. This came from your, if you can be honest, recording, and I will acknowledge that. What should I do? You know, all of that, those kind of details on copyrights, cultural, intellectual rights, have to be worked out. If not, that repository or that thing is, what good is it? Sad to say. We have that, and to answer, yeah, we have that. So we're dealing with, we're putting out what we can. I'm so happy that we have a lot that we can, but there are some things that we cannot.
You're not allowed
Yeah.
to record actual history?
I cannot go and take a tape recorder and play it for my, children at my house, because it's only to be used there. And then you have to sign a form that says it's only for you to hear now. And if you happen to go and use it for something else, by honesty, you have to let us know. I hope but I understand there are some restrictions like that. And cultural restrictions too, that still exist. Maybe you can only use it at a certain season of the year, or a certain time.
One of the major problems with what you're talking about is individuals who are pursuing their doctorate degrees.
Yes, doctorate degrees are wonderful.
Basically, are given that material, and then they become experts on us, like the way a dog doctor would become an expert on a particular dog. And that is not right. And for me, as a Native American person, as a Tlingit person, I would take this to the world court to be able to have a decision rendered on intellectual material that belongs to my people.
What
that
if
was
it's
taken by someone who all of a sudden became an expert, and they honored that individual just because he had those papers. They don't know what's in it.
But there's a way that you would say, okay, if it was a great grandson, he's want to get into learning and getting a degree, so he could probably become a professor at the University of Alaska. Would you allow him to use?
There are people like that.
You wouldn't allow it?
I don't know. They're already in the school systems.
Well, no, but yeah, but I understand also where it shouldn't be just blatantly used by anybody. That's your concern. So you could put restrictions on it. But at the same time, you wouldn't restrict it forever or for nobody to use it. So I know it's a real, how do you call,
Sensitive.
yeah, and it's in regards to the way we have to protect it today what means we have. And that's this whole copyright stuff. Anyway, it's such a messy thing sometimes. And if not, but at the same time, we're going to have to deal with it if we want to. We see the value, and certain things might be easier to use than others, and other things we'll try and see what can be done. It'll be very restricted, maybe, or only bloodline or something. I don't know, and because that has to be proven. And how it's going to be used. Of course, we don't want it commercialized, for making money. I don't know about earning degrees, that might be another thing, except for the that kind of legal language. So we need to get involved with lawyers or that kind of language. Now, it's difficult. I can say, sometimes it's difficult. I have to say, just to say from our perspective in Hawaii, because as we moved from, I don't know what they call the Stone Age people, where we didn't know how to write our language, that kind of thing. Anyway, but as we moved into time, and the time that we can see and document and say, yes, this is what our people did, you can see the involvement. And that involvement basically is through our language. And all our people were using Hawaiian. They're going to real estate. They never had such a thing. They were into the newspaper industry. They were into the court system, becoming judges, lawyers. They were into stores, selling just merchandise. They were policemen. They were everything. And that was moving into a very different time. And they adjusted to a lot of these things. This 2,000 line creation chant that I just mentioned, those kinds of mele, as we call it, or records, were very, very restricted. But there was a point where our monarchy said, this cannot be restricted only for me as the closest thing to the God and to this class of people. It needs to be released to all my people. He made that decision, which made it easier for generations to come after. Releasing the kapu, as we say, on certain restrictions, very restricted to certain uses only, and that's it, in a traditional way. And I know it's difficult. I am glad that some of those decisions were made back then. I'm not saying that this is what all people should be doing. All I know is it's such valuable information, and for us it's become public record, accessible.
The word that you use, that every time, you never hear anybody talk about an Italian, a Norwegian, a Swede, a Danish person, an English person. When you hear the people talk about them, they will not use the word tradition. They will use history. Tradition are things that people have forgotten about. Don't know why they're doing it. They're just doing it, but they're doing a traditional thing. It's kind of like something you just kind of thought about. Or that's what Mom, Grandma did some time ago, and so now we're doing it, and the list goes on. The reason I personally believe they won't let us look at those kind of things, because it will document legally the type of things that were done to the indigenous people. And the thing that happens is anytime you hear anybody talk about a native educational effort, they're going to call it the indigenous people's way of knowing. Those are buzzwords in
Well, I think
society.
our own people, I mean, I'm not just Hawaii.
Because you
Our
never-
own people use those words, not only those guys, but we use it ourselves. And we have to be careful when and how we use those things. And history is written is one way, and traditional, cultural, non-written is not considered history by the black and white. But, you know, those countries you mentioned, they have the black and white pretty early. So it may have played a role, documented, so that they feel secure that it's there and people can use it, and they'll still say it comes from Norway, or the Italians actually created this art form, and we're just imitating it. And maybe they'll say we're making it better, or we're doing a new take on it. But it's really comes from the Italian artists. Because it's documented, it's black and white.
Mhm.
Maybe that can help.
But I think our language is bringing it up like a seal coming up out of the water.
But the language
Our
documents
language
the
is
seal
surfacing.
coming up unless
And
you have
it
a
is
camera,
growing.
yeah.
There's no way it's gonna be stopped.
So language is very important to document every aspect of our culture. Yeah, go ahead, any other questions?
Mr. Kimura, you know, you can talk to Google and it'll search something for you. Has that been thought of doing in any, I know they're doing it in many languages, but have they been using traditional languages? Have you explored?
I know we've gotten several inquiries about it, and our response has been that because our language is being revived, you know, we're in the mode of getting a little stronger, hopefully. We're not going to be participating right now. That's basically the response. Like we're saying by sound or what, translations, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess as somebody who works with media, I'm always interested in the role of where does translation fit in, and at what point do we decide to translate it, and is there an oral lexicon that's being developed so that years down the line, someone can hear the recording and choose to either have it translated to another language or not.
Yeah, all of those things are like coming into, and then you have the good and the bad, and how do you lose control over it, or is it really supposed to be controlled so much, or you know, doesn't everybody use English, Spanish, and all of that, and those Spanish speakers that they don't mind if you learn how to say their language in a easier way. It's just that we're not really ready to participate fully. So we're just saying to them we're not ready to participate that way. We have priorities for now, and we're teaching our new speakers, and getting involved with that is not something that we need to focus on now. We want to focus and prioritize our way of passing on the language and culture. Oh, yes?
The other thing, did you guys do a study or look at when the language was not being promoted and being used? Now that you're using it as your educational achievements, have they improved over time?
Yes.
As you built confidence in your students?
Absolutely.
That's what happened.
Well, when we started, that was not really a major priority. When we started, we wanted to be sure that we were passing the language first. But immediately, almost like we started, and then as we like right here, I don't know, in time, I don't know what it was, but month, or we knew, well, you know, we're talking about a setting like a preschool setting, which are like, we took children at 2 years, 2.5 years, and then up to 5. And we knew we didn't want to be called a babysitting service or child care. No, we wanted to be a school, and that's called preschool. And therefore, but also we knew that we couldn't be, you know, the meaning of child care or babysitting or that kind of child care doesn't have an educational factor to it. And we knew we wanted to incorporate our cultural foundations with the language to ensure that would happen. So this is why we had to get involved with we call it a curriculum or a program, from 7:30 in the morning to say 3:30 in the afternoon, 5 days a week. That's a lot of time for staff to be there. And what are they doing with all that time? We're not going to waste that time. And they want something to do instead of just sitting there and saying, did you want something to eat or play nicely? Don't throw that book over there, and you know, regular as you do at home. Maybe, you know, let's go out and play in the yard for a little while or something, you know. That just casual babysitting or childcare. So an educational program came into play very quickly, and we knew we wanted to maintain it as Hawaiian as we could. And that's another topic that's coming up about, well, maybe more in the, I think I'm going to be talking about how we came about in creating a Hawaiian educational philosophy, the foundations. Yeah, and we didn't know that at the very beginning. I mean, you know, have it all figured out. But, as I said, the main concern was our language is dying. We need to get to the babies because we're teaching the older people, older meaning like even high school. What is that, 15, 16, 17-year-olds? But you have them maybe for a little bit, 3 times a week, maybe 20 minutes, maybe an hour. I mean, we're doing that for too long. And of course at the university, our language was being taught, Hawaiian, at the university since 1921. And that's because of historical connection to the overthrow, because when they overthrew our government, our politicians were still the old-timers from the kingdom who became the politicians and had something to say about that university program. Although it was in a College of Arts and Sciences with German, French, and Spanish and considered foreign requirement. That's okay, it was still there. But we've now changed it to second language requirement. Anyway, so we can look at that history and how our language was being taught by Hawaiian, by native Hawaiian speakers, and how it wasn't producing speakers. And anyway, that was the main concern, Hawaiian. And documenting, we didn't, well, of course we decided to learn more as much as we could, and we use our native speakers. That's another topic, I think it's tomorrow, when we have native speaker and second language learners in a school setting and the dynamics and how we were using that combination. And then soon now, we don't have native speakers to use. We have 30, they're just too old, we can't use them. Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else have questions, but just to follow up on his comment and question, how do I say this? You know, measuring the success of the immersion school.
Oh yeah, yes, we definitely see that.
Western society likes to look at measuring.
What is the measurement?
You know, like if
We
you're.
have the Department of Education standards of, what do they call that, CI, you know, KEIKI would be the better one to give you the correct standards that our Department of Education use in testing. And the testing areas that they begin with are in language arts, math, and science.
Because I'm asking because I had a question a couple months ago from someone looking at, out of state, looking at an immersion school and asking, he couldn't find other immersion school successes because his application was looking at, do you have data from other examples
Yeah.
for success?
Yeah. Yeah, and the most successful in Hawaii, we have 21 sites that are immersion, and I'm saying quote unquote because a couple sites go up to 6th grade only, and then they go into English Hawaiian. But from kindergarten up to 6th grade is all in Hawaiian. But then we have 5 full-fledged, meaning from the whole site is in Hawaiian from kindergarten to 12. And some sites even have an attached preschool or punana leo, and that connects to the K to 12. So it's almost like P to 12, preschool to 12. And those sites are easier to, how do you say, get the statistics from. Maybe I should have prefaced this, that we have started this program since 1987, so we're celebrating 30 years of Hawaiian immersion in Hawaii. But our department, like you folks are dealing, everybody deals with policies, politics, and mental, Western way of thinking. I just like to say they just kind of wanted to forget about us, but they can't forget about us after 30 years. They just simply cannot. And because they're noticing it really is pretty darn good, you know, they're producing marvelous results. I think we better start testing these guys and brag about this a little bit.
We
You
had,
know, maybe that's how come people heard a little bit more about Hawaiian immersion.
in 2016, we had 100% of our senior students graduate
Yes.
from high school just by starting the Tlingit. The thing that it does is it brings community. What the taking away of our languages did, it was divided the community. When a parent knows that their child is going to be singing, dancing, or speaking,
And becoming educated.
all of a sudden
for-
that parent who never came to a school activity is sitting there and they're part of what's happening.
Yeah.
Which brings the community of the way our people were before Western civilization and
Exactly.
assimilation came.
Exactly.
Our people were together because of the language and the intimacy that we had of the language, of encouraging each other, and holding one another up, complimenting one another, recognizing one another.
Making us strong for what we really are.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll never have to go back into that kind of history again. Because it's almost like, well, for us it's almost like it's our only chance. Because if we don't bring our language to be a vital part of that wholeness, that whole strengthening, and it's a vital part language plays, then as they say, you go extinct. That's all. Because it's not just the language, absolutely right. It's the whole being. And if you have to say to the department, our children are smart, our children are succeeding, they can go on to college. Yeah, your school is 100%. This other school we have that's now busting at the seams with 500 students, and they're building new portables, as that's what they can afford for now. 100% graduation high school, 80% going on to the universities, college. That's higher than the public school, the regular schools, the other school in English. And where especially Hawaiian families, ethnic Hawaiian people are located. And it does play, we all know it plays a major role.
I remember when your people came we invited some of your people. There was a lady, her name was Mama something, came up and they looked at what the Sealaska Heritage Foundation was doing. It's now known as Sealaska Heritage Institute. And the thing, when they came and looked at what we were doing, we asked them, what did you learn? And the thing that they said, we learned to learn what we don't want to do.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
But
Because
you know,
we were
yeah.
writing books.
Yeah, and you know,
We were writing books, we were writing dictionaries, we were doing all that type of thing. And they looked at that and probably appreciated it, but said no, and you guys went into your immersion type of program.
maybe it was good
So-
that they thought we just, disappear over 30 years. Maybe it was good they never noticed what it was, because we didn't want them to. Actually, we wanted to be left alone, actually, because we wanted to have time and space to gain that strength. It takes, you have to allow for that to happen, to gel and to sprout and to nourish. And so, but you have to keep at it. You have to make sure that every little step is moving a little further and further forward, not backward, but a little further forward. Of course, there are going to be some things you're going to fail at, but if you're going to go one step back, make sure you go 2 steps forward next time. Try to anyway. Try to. And then don't have this, cause I know we have to be concerned about laws and policies, but some of these things cannot wait for too much legislation and stuff to happen first. We have to make the legislation happen for us.
Brianna, mahalo, Dr. Kimura.
Oh yes, it's time to.
I had 2 questions that fall back to the repository that you mentioned earlier. Do you have a designated staff or people working on it? And the second question is, what are there criteria, or is there, what are you looking for that goes into the repository?
Yeah, right now we have a grant. Thank goodness we got through to NSF so that we can work on this Kani'aina. Kani'aina literally means the voices of the land, of the sound from the land. So that we can put what we can without any cultural restrictions out for our schools, especially learners. And it will be mostly, we're trusting it will be mostly our learners. There'll be other people who are curious, maybe some linguists, maybe somebody want to do a doctorate, but it'll be mostly our people who want it to be used in wherever they're using it, in schools especially. So we have, yes, a little group of people. We hardly know too much about all of this. We're learning as we're going, learning about this, Dublin core system of cataloging and all these little fine little details. Learning about the best quality we can get for pneumatic 3/4 inch videos, or maybe 8mm film that somebody did in their backyard. All kinds of formats. So we're learning as we're going. But it's very important that we preserve it and we can use it to further strengthen us. As our native speakers sound, especially, is not alive, but it's alive and it will continue to be replayed over and over because of technology.
Brianna,
Yeah.
how many people are you talking about? How big is the tribe or tribes that you're referring to?
Big is this
Tribe?
our Hawaiian people, number, ethnicity. Living in Hawaii, we have about 230,000, but the other half, there's about another 250 or so out of state. Because Hawaii is very expensive to live at now, because it becomes what it is. And people in California and in Seattle, our people, Hawaiian people, are saying, look, we need to have Hawaiian immersion over here too. So eventually that might happen as well, And it's not, our Hawaiian immersion program is not only for ethnic Hawaiian families. It's a department, it's a public school system that we're operating through. And also, in our history, not only ethnic Hawaiians learned Hawaiian, all nationalities that came to Hawaii, when Hawaiian was the main language, spoke Hawaiian. That's their language. So we don't take children because of the ethnicity. They're just on ethnicity. However, I'd say 95, 97% of our families are ethnic Hawaiian. It's their choice to bring their children into this kind of environment. Yeah, there are a lot of dynamics in Hawaii that might be different from your situations, and that helps, you know. But I think there are a lot of things that we have in similar ways that we can share and assist each other with, and whenever you have questions, and if we can, I don't know, we don't have all the answers, but whatever we have done and can share, we're welcome to do what we can. Yes.
You have to raise your own funding and things like that
Yeah.
for the
We
college.
have all kinds of, you know, preschool is not considered a government. The government is slowly getting involved with that because it's a vital time for a child's education, early education. But up to 5 years old, it's a private business. So we charge tuition. And then we have to go seek funding to assist parents who've never experienced sending their children, you know, into a preschool. A lot of our families can't afford to. That kind of funding, yes, is still there. Although we charge tuition, I think our tuition is up to $750. So if you have 2 children, if you happen to have, you know, 1 and 2, that's how much? $1,500 a month. That's expensive.
Yeah. When you do grants like they do here,
What's
you
that?
know, grants.
Yes, we do. And now I would like to, maybe some of you have heard of the Kamehameha School. Kamehameha was our great king. He acquired a lot of property. And they didn't take that property away from him. So all that property has become big bucks. And they left the trust, the princess who inherited her great-grandfather's wealth. The children, preference will be given to ethnic Hawaiian children. You have to have at least a drop of Hawaiian blood. But now they know, because I'm a graduate of that school, I graduated back then. Now they know, they didn't know when I was going to, that Hawaiian blood means nothing. Hawaiian is more important, knowing to be Hawaiian. So now Kamehameha Schools is teaching everything, cultural stuff, traditional history, stories, dance, music, food, everything. And language is now required for all, they built 3 schools throughout the state as graduation requirement for all the high school, for all their students. And so they have been so kind to donate money to our preschool program to assist in families who, you know, need to be assisted with tuition. So we try to work, and then things happen, you know, things will develop. The more you do a little step here, a little step there, and progress, things will happen. I know it's hard at the beginning. We had a $500 donation, I remember at the beginning. And then we had a church whose minister I happened to know and said, we don't use our church hall during the week, we use the chapel. So you can use the hall for free. And our teacher said, we don't have to be paid right away, but maybe eventually. And so we went to the Department of Social Services, and they would give $113 for parents who have children who qualify as poor, medium, that income family, they would give $113 to. So we use that money to pay our teachers. Because a lot of our 60% or more of our families were in the low income category. So we could get some money from the, DS Department of Social Services.
The Methodist, United Methodist Church, every one Sunday takes an offering
That's good.
for indigenous people's ministers.
Right.
And I was sitting on their board at one time. And millions of dollars is turned back to the general fund of that organization because they were not letting the native indigenous people become aware of those monies. I mean, they had a lot of money that was turned back, and I just shared this now because all you have to do is find that Methodist place, tell them what you want to do.
And sometimes, we don't want to have our parents not do work. Like, oh, we can hire the janitor, we can go buy the food, or we can, those kinds of things. Because we wanted the parents to, and we do up to today, require them to help clean the school. But it's on a work schedule, so maybe at the most 3 times a year, the yard participate, and they have to come and take a free language class once a week. That's free, but you better show up. And they do, they want to. But we want the parents to participate, and it's because it's already in the person, in the families, in the Hawaiian heart. They want it, because it's the parents who decide that they want their children to be there. Yeah. I think we reached the time, have we? Any one last question? No more. And we have 3 more days ahead of us. Okay.